Right now, new fallout from a fiery speech last night. America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani not only attacking Hillary Clinton, but calling out the media as well.
Sick and tired of the defamation of Donald Trump by the media and by the Clinton campaign.
Joining us now is Howard Kurtz, anchor of Media Buzz. Howie, great to have you. You know what? It's always the media's fault. We are always to blame. Doesn't it feel like that sometimes?
Yeah, but you know, this plays very well for Rudy Giuliani to pick up the anti-media banner that Donald Trump pounds away at for more than a year. That's popular, obviously, with Republican delegates, and Trump does get a lot of unfair press. I just read a political headline that said Trump's disastrous first day at the convention. Well, it certainly had some hiccups. We can get into that. And so for Giuliani to not only speak as Trump's longtime friend, but to do a little media bashing, I don't know if it brings in new voters, but it certainly rouses up what we like to call the base.
I was interested to see the headlines this morning because it struck me, you know, it was like the 60 Minutes interview. You know, it was like almost everything that went on so far. Your impression of whether last night was fantastic or horrible depends on the lens through which you were looking. You know, that it's almost like it's two Americas watching these things go by, and there's one side which controls most of the media, which is, so it seems like it's going to think it's a disaster almost no matter what. And then there's another side who's pro-Trump and thinks it's all fantastic. Have you noticed this same very deep and notable divide?
Absolutely, and it's not the typical left-right divide in that a lot in the conservative media who were against Trump in the primaries still not fans of Donald J. Trump. And so you had some people who thought Rudy's speech was too angry, others thought it was a home run. There were some things like Senator Joni Ernst, who was supposed to be, you know, a key speaker for the nominee, didn't get on until after 11 o'clock when a lot of the country had gone to bed. But right now, all of that has been superseded by what's become the viral moment of this convention so far here in Cleveland, and that is the flap over Melania Trump's speech and the fact that the strikingly similar words and passages from a speech by Michelle Obama in 2008, that has become the story.
It is, although if you were watching live last night and you were watching Twitter, everybody was talking about that entrance that he made. You know, like a WWE event where he came in through the fog to the music. And, you know, one thing that struck me, because you're a TV critic, so look at this, you know, from a TV critic and producer's point of view. Donald Trump had said that he thought, you know, the convention before this in Tampa was, you know, the most boring thing he'd ever seen in his life, and that this was going to be watchable, good television. I mean, from a producer standpoint and TV standpoint, he did put on a show like nothing we've seen at a convention, no? I mean, there's the moment right there.
Yeah, well, that was a nice bit of stagecraft, and even him coming out and briefly introducing his wife, Donald Trump is never brief, as you know, was a nice also touch of a guy who knows how to do television. And it's really sad. I mean, look, there's no special prosecutor needed here. This isn't Watergate. Melania did a very good job. It is not her fault that a speechwriter, you know, borrowed some words and phrases from Michelle Obama. And so the nice moment, I went to bed thinking, wow, this woman who's not accustomed to public speaking really did a nice job. And then today, I think the campaign is inflaming the coverage of the similar words and phrases because they're going out and saying, no, it didn't happen. And that just encourages anchors and reporters to say, oh, you think it didn't happen? Let's play that videotape again and again, comparing the two speeches.
But Howard, I mean, do you think that's what all of America's really focused on, or is that what the mainstream / left-leaning media is focused on? That they found, you know, this kernel to attack her, and so that's what they want to talk about today, and by virtue of continuing that headline, you know, the rest of us are sort of falling victim to the same narrative. Any chance that's true?
Well, I don't think most of America is focused on this at all right now, and rightly so. There are a lot bigger issues facing the country, but the media have a very mighty megaphone, and if this goes on for another day, a day and a half, and isn't superseded by something else that happens here in Cleveland, then it becomes part of the story of the convention in the way that the Clint Eastwood and the empty chair thing happened at Mitt Romney's convention. I mean, that's unfortunate because it's just not that big a deal. On the other hand, Corey Lewandowski, the former Trump campaign manager, says the speechwriter who did this should be fired because it hasn't become a distraction. Will it remain a minor distraction or become a major distraction? That will depend in part on whether journalists can let go of what they see as a juicy story.
Well, you make a great point in your article about how we're focused on the tragedy that's happening around the world, that we can hardly process it. It's happening so much. Before you came on, we mentioned that there is another explosion now in Turkey that we're watching. I mean, it's an interesting side note to what's going on, and was your point. I wish we had more time. Howard Kurtz, thank you so much. I appreciate it.